Hello, everybody again, and thank you for joining us. As you know, this session is how to optimize your in-house resource management with Teresa Lackmanova from Coca-Cola. But just to briefly mention, if you're looking for 15 creative ops best practices with Nish Patel in 30 minutes, but in 30 minutes starting from now, that is, please head over to track 2. Okay, optimizing your in-house resource management. Over to you, Teresa.
So hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you are all well and safe, as well as sane, given the limitations of all the various lockdowns we currently have around the world. I'd like to welcome you to our session during which we are going to look at some of the best practices and tips on how to optimize your in-house resource management. As you know, my name is Teresa. I work in operations and resource management for the past 8 years. And in those past 8 years, I had the chance and opportunity to implement and run resource management functions across a couple of London-based agencies, ranging from market research, design and technology, and now even for a big FMCG business that is Coca-Cola. For today's session, I would like to focus on the in-house resource management function and some of the learnings I gained by implementing it and running it for the central marketing team of Coca-Cola Western Europe. So, and my slides are not working, which is a great start. So now, what do I mean by in-house resource management? So in agency world, you work against rate cards and clients' budget, and therefore the significance of a resource management function is focused and very influenced by the financial side of people utilization. As a resource manager, you are making sure you have the right talent at the right cost with the right capacity at the right time. And that's the way how you are actually ensuring the project profitability as well as the quality of output. Now, for what I call here the in-house resource management, the financial side of utilization isn't the most decisive factor or aspect, or the project profitability, it's not its general objective or even the measurement of the success. For the in-house resource management, the value and contribution to the business comes actually from harnessing and growing the talent by bringing together the best suited skill sets, knowledge and experiences from across the whole organization. And it is actually through the effective and efficient utilization of your teams and the existing talent pool that this function can actually has the potential, if done well, to actually to have the positive impact on the business and the overall growth. So and as you are more likely already getting the gist, we are talking about the resourcing for any type of subject matter experts and skill set. So it can be design, it can be marketing, creative, digital, you name it. You can insert here any time of teams or experts that are actually crucial for your teams. Now, ultimately, I believe that the main goal of in-house resource management is actually finding the right balance between what the business needs, what is the work that matters the most, the existing skills and capacity, while simultaneously enabling the teams and associates to actually develop new skills, to pursue the personal development aspiration and professional growth. Now, when you manage to actually find the right balance between those three, you are more likely to see then engaged and motivated associates and high-performing teams delivering the top quality work. And also, this is the way resource management has the potential to contribute to the greater talent retention as well. And all those collectively then can actually contribute to the success of your business. So, although I mentioned that the financial lens of utilization may not be the most decisive and important aspect of in-house resource management, as you are not working against specific client budget or your rate card, it still has an important role to play. So You may not be necessarily worried about going over budget or reducing the profitability for your business, but understanding the project overhead costs will help you to evaluate what skills are more cost effective to actually bring in-house or to outsource. It will also provide you with additional data to measure the overall initiative KPIs. And ultimately, it will also reinforce the potential cost effectiveness of utilizing the right level of skill and seniority for the right task or project. One of the crucial roles of resource management functions is to actually help business to establish what is the right size for each of the different expert teams you have in-house. So you don't actually end up either under or over utilizing your associate. As you can imagine, both of them will come with their price, either financial or human, because you are either paying for employees that are not bringing any value back because they have simply no work to do, or you are actually overloading and burning out your talent. So how do you decide what are the right size expert teams? To do that right, you would want to actually understand your project types, their life cycles and the stages, and also what should be an optimal estimated effort behind each. You would want to define the most appropriate role and a seniority level needed for each stage or task. The very, very important one, to have visibility on project pipeline and a backlog for future planning and resource forecast. And also you will want to understand what other access to other resource pools are actually available to you, so you can utilize the overall company network. Now, drawing from my experience from implementing the in-house function for the marketing team of Coca-Cola Western Europe, here are some learnings, the tools I would like to highlight. First of all, bring everyone on board, from your juniors to your VPs. For the function to work and actually bring the best out of people, everyone should understand and actually appreciate the value the function brings, and also respect the process around it, because the process is there for a reason. And for that, define the resource request process. It can be as strict or as loose based on what you feel is actually right for your company culture. Just make sure that everyone on all levels understands when any additional resource request that is outside of the already agreed and allocated time needs to go through this process. Because it is the only way you can actually always have a realistic view on your current capacity and how and where your teams, your talent is actually utilized. Put peer-to-peer feedback in place to actually gain understanding of team dynamics for future allocations and team designs. It also helps with individual performance evaluation and feedback, and especially where people work on projects where their line managers are not part of the team. Acknowledge internal time and people management time when you do your capacity planning. It is very often underestimated and maybe even more overlooked completely, but both can actually consume a considerable amount of time, especially the people management. So you consider your estimated non-billable in agency language, if you use agency language, for all your roles and seniority levels. So what would be the non-billable time for those roles? Do consider establishing brand and or product anchors, or brand or product guardians, however you want to call them, and especially where you have constants like a brand or a product that you need to take care of, because it is those guardians. Because they stay on the same brand or product, they can ensure the consistency of your strategy, of your purpose, and the vision of the product or brand. If this is not possible, well, even if it is possible, make sure you establish strong handover and onboarding process to actually safeguard the knowledge, the experience, and the learnings gained so far. Now moving to the don'ts. So when you receive a request for additional resource to already established team, I really highly recommend not to just go and add someone new to the team. It's not always the best and actually the right solution to do. So first of all, always find out why and then decide what is the best next action. Consider that the reasons can be multiple. It can be lack of skills and experience, but maybe providing training and coaching in short term, but more importantly in long term, is a better solution, right? It can be workload overload, yes, but before you start adding additional pair of hands, maybe find out if the issue is not more with a prioritization or even the capability of delegation of that resource with requesting additional support. So all those in the long term will be helping you to actually streamline the teams and making sure you are not utilizing people somewhere where you don't need them. You definitely can find a better work for them. Now, the next one, this one for me, it's super, super important, and I came across it pretty much everywhere I work. Do avoid visibility and favoritism as an argument for project allocations. So we all been there, right? Something needs to happen quickly, or there are roadblocks, or it is a high profile and or a very complex project, right? And the first people then that actually cross your mind or your boss's mind are actually those top performers who seem to tackle any challenge that you put in front of them. However, I really would suggest you try instead digging a little bit deeper and really finding the perfect match between the skills, the capacity, and the development and career aspirations, no matter how high or low the profile of the associate has in your consideration, in your organization. Because if you always reach out to those who are the most visible and top performing, you are actually risking stretching them too thin and actually burning them out. But also, you are risking losing on the hidden talent you have within the business already, but to whom you never actually gave the opportunity to prove it. So do keep this one in mind. Now, moving to short list of top best practices when setting up a resource management function for your in-house teams. So establish and communicate clear project and opportunity scoping process, your backlog and pipeline prioritization process, and a resource request process. As I said, those processes can be as strict or as loose as you feel fit for the culture of your company. And also don't be afraid of coming up with version 1, version 2, version 3. Iterate when you actually see necessary to make those processes as easy and transparent for everyone. That's the easiness and transparency of the process is the main motivation why people actually will follow those processes. So don't worry about iterating and changing until you find the right level. I always say that resource management is about almost constant talking and negotiation and temperature checking. So you set up your regular one-to-ones with your project, with all your associates, with your leadership team. Establish your ways to resourcing through proxies. So how can you actually reach out to the full company network through your contacts to actually find the right talent? And do make sure that you actually consciously grow this network of contacts. Decide what resource management tools and software are actually appropriate for your needs. Do consider the size of the teams, how often people on board or complete projects on or how many projects people work at the same time. Those are all very important. And based on those, then decide how complex or simple your tracking system actually should be. Now, as I already mentioned, resource management is about regular temperature checking. So to actually get rounded and current 360 picture of your talent pool, the resource manager should really work closely and regularly with project leads to get visibility on current and future resource needs on projects, with the leadership teams to actually understand the business priorities and the project pipeline to be able to anticipate the future resource capacity and flag any potential gaps in time to actually find solutions. With line managers, so you can understand the individual performance and associates career aspirations and development needs. Of course, with your HR team as well, so you are aware of any personnel changes within the teams, and also to support with hiring decisions based on the skill gaps that you identified. And that leads to regular check-ins with your capability leads. So you can actually share the identify skill gaps and learning and development opportunities and needs for the teams. And last but not least, obviously with your finance and commercial teams. That's to enable the actual cost effectiveness of the work done. So now, coming to the end of my presentation, I would like to recap on what I actually believe are the three main purposes of in-house resource management. And those, I believe, are first to create bridges and connections between various departments, teams, functions, and seniority levels to actually bring the best out of people. Secondly, to empower and enable the teams and individuals to deliver the best quality outputs possible and on time too, by actually recognizing and matching the best talent fit for each project, stage, or even task. And lastly, bring the right balance between the business priorities and needs, the utilization of the existing talent, as well as the professional and business growth. And on that note, I'd like to thank you for your time and listening. And yeah, should you like to discuss anything around resource management any further, then of course we have our Q&A here, but also feel free to get in touch with me anytime on LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to connect and discuss further. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Teresa. I think the organisers need to unblock my camera, please. I had a question for you, which is, you mentioned pipeline, and hang on, I'm just going to switch on my camera. Sorry, there we go. That's better. Right. You mentioned pipeline earlier. And obviously, as a resource manager, knowing what's over the horizon is really helpful in terms of marshalling your resources. And we see different levels of the strength of the radar, if you like, varying from 2 weeks visibility to sometimes even a year's visibility. And of course, you can't plan everything a year ahead, but if you can plan the plannable, then you can manage the manageable. And what would your tips be for getting stronger radar for what's over the horizon in terms of the demand on your resources, future demand?
So no, great question. And yes, I mentioned that during the session. Yeah, pipeline, it's extremely important for a resource manager. It's one of the number ones you want to have, because that's the only way you can be actually effective and efficient in how you build your teams and where and how you use your talent. It really depends. For me, it's always, as I said, it's always about temperature checking and constant communication. So it is about talking, and even I always say my teams and the leadership team, do get in touch, even if it is something that crossed your mind that maybe we will be doing or we should be doing at some point. raise it with me so I can have it on my radar. So even if it is just in the idea creation, do come and talk to me so I can start, even if it is somewhere in the background, I can still acknowledge that and plan a plan around that. So again, it's temperature checking and communication. So even if it is in the very, very early stage, do it, because then it's about reshifting the prioritization and priorities of the business. But at least there is already a potential plan or potential scenarios you can be putting together and actually highlighting it in ahead. So if someone comes saying, I've got something else here, I go like, okay, but you know, Jim has something here as well. How do we combine this? Let's start, let's open the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. It's interesting. For my next question, I need to ask you a question first, which is, do you attach a monetary value to your resources time, or is it all you can eat for free?
So we currently don't, and it is a next step in how we run, or it's potentially the next steps on how we look at it. As I said, there is the financial side of the resource management for in-house teams. It's not as important and not as crucial as within the agencies where you actually work against the profitability. However, I still believe it has some value in it to understand it, even if it is rough estimates, because what can happen, it's all very, very connected, but what can happen, you can be using very highly skilled people to do work that is that someone way less junior can do. So as a business, somewhere in the background, you are losing money, right? Because someone who you pay way, way more is doing work that can be done by someone who you pay way, way less. That's one thing. But the other issue of it is the highly skilled people or the high levels, they will get bored by doing things that should be done by juniors. They are not utilizing their brains and their skill set on the level they need. So you are losing then on the other side the talent, if you want.
Yeah. And so Sarah Megley had a question, which I guess would perhaps tap into both your current experience and your past experience. And her question was, what would you say is an optimal split for internal time and billable time in an in-house agency as opposed to an external agency?
Really, really good question. So that really depends on how you actually run your business and how big size of your teams are. So from my experience, the higher the role is, the more managerial the role is, the higher percentage of non-billable time you will have, because on the director role, it's more likely you will have more direct reports and you are actually ensuring the teams are running well and delivering. And that actually the overall business is running. So you are more in the leadership position. So you are not necessarily touching the client work. So, but you are making sure you've got the right teams and you are following the right strategy as your business should do. So the higher the role, the higher the non-billable time will be. And then it really depends. Usually in agency world, what I came across and more like the suggested for the mid-level roles, the non-billable utilization will be somewhere around 10 to 20%. It really depends how big your business is and what is it you really do.
Okay, and Cara Paro has a question, which is any advice on how to manage the senior team? By which I mean, I think she means not the senior team in the in-house agency, but in the organization, when they are pushing more projects than you know the team has capacity for. So it's this thing of you've got lots of people who all need their work done, infinite amount of demand, limited amount of capacity. You got any secrets in terms of helping to manage that?
So yeah, and this is a great one and so common one, and yes, the most complicated one, because it is your stakeholder management, right? And it is how you are making your stakeholders and your leadership aware of the capacities of the team and what actually is possible, what is not feasible. from my experience and understanding what usually works, and that's where the agency life actually works, because you can attach numbers against the teams and against the pipeline, so it's easier. So I would suggest, of course, it's about talking and explanation, but from my experience, what always helped is to come with quite hard facts and visualize the facts. Like, this is what you want to do, this is what you have. How does that fit? And if you manage to visualize it in a way, and then actually put the argument in front in a way that is very visible, then usually the stakeholders do realize that somewhere we need to give up somewhere and to reprioritize.
Yeah. Okay. Just to acknowledge that there have been some questions asking for specific your specific view on the use of platforms and partners and so on, and just to say that it's kind of the approach of the conference that we keep these conversations vendor neutral. So I hope the audience don't mind if I park those questions. So I'm going to move on to another question here, which is, how can I engage and persuade senior stakeholders to invest in a creative resource management tool to help me do my job?
So again, I think it really depends on your circumstance, on how big your team are, and also what types of projects you are working on. Because if you have types of projects that last half a year, and the teams pretty much stay solid for a really long period of time, so let's say 6 months and longer, and they will have, and usually people work on 1 or 2 projects, then yeah, convincing your leadership team to invest actually in a management tools or resource management tool can be a little bit more tricky, because the movements are not that often, and the visibility is quite easy to actually get. However, whenever is the other way around, or even somewhere in the middle, you've got lots of projects coming in, big teams, and everyone working on like more than 2 projects at a time, and the changes are very often, then yes, your only argument is you can bring an proper effectiveness and efficiencies in running the teams if you can actually have a real-time visibility on where people are and what they do and when they will be free again, because that's the only way you can actually go and tell the business, yes, the project you want to start doing in 2 weeks time, yeah, we can do it, or no, we can't. And you are fast, you can provide fast facts for decision making. So for me, the argument there should not be too difficult. But yeah, if your turnaround of project is super slow, then it will take you some time to convince them. However, there are tools, and I know we can't talk about it, that are super cheap and super easy for this type of resource management.
Yeah. So I guess it's also, that's really helpful, thank you. I guess it's also about looking at it from the stakeholders' side. What would the advantage to them be of you getting a resource management tool? What's the advantage to the business? And if you look at it from that perspective, perhaps they might come round. There's a question here, which is, do you think a hybrid in-house and external agency model is beneficial? And at the Coca-Cola company, I'm guessing that you both have in-house and external agencies, and maybe you could just talk about how that works and where the benefits are.
So the benefits of the hybrid of this, it's always there. So because you as a business, and actually it doesn't matter if we're talking about in-house or agency life, but you as the business should always look at the split of the roles, the skill set you need, and how often you need them. So what is your benefit? And you need to relook this. It's not that you open your business or you run your business and you always had marketeers, you always had developers, and you always had UX designers, you name it. So that's why you always should have them. As your business changes and depending on your project, you need to relook what skills and what teams are actually beneficial for you to have in-house or actually outsource them, or even have part-time, because you know you only have half of your projects need this type of skill. So you always want to, that's something you want to relook on regular basis. I'm not saying every week, not every month, but maybe every half a year you want to have a look and say, okay, this is the teams and skills we always have in-house. This is the skills we always outsource. This is the skills we always have part-time, right?
Yeah.
And this is the work we always completely outsource, completely. So does it with the pipeline we have, with the work we do, is this model works, or do we need to move this skill set from always in-house to actually part-time because the pipeline doesn't look that cool for this skill set?
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Teresa, for a really informative session. I'm sure a lot of value there for the audience.